You know, look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very defensible case.
Diddy's courtroom saga just went left. One of his own lawyers just quit right there in the middle of the case after some wild audio got played in court. But here's the craziest part. This isn't the first time. One of Diddy's top lawyers already dipped before the trial even kicked off. Something about this case got even the best in the game running for the hills. In this video, we breaking down why Diddy's lawyer really walked out, what was in that audio that got everybody shook, and how this might blow up everything Diddy's been trying to hide. Let's get right into it. The shocking resignation. In a move that had everybody and their mama caught a guard, one of Diddy's high-pro defense attorneys, Anthony Rico, straight up bounced from the case just 3 months before the trial was supposed to pop off. The timing couldn't be more sus, with Diddy facing some heavy charges including sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. If the music mogul catches an L on this one, he could be looking at spending the rest of his life behind bars. But before we dive into the 411 on Rico's wild exit, let's break down who this Anthony Rico cat is and why him dipping out is such a big deal. Anthony Rico ain't your average ambulance chaser. This dude is a straight up legal beast with a resume that would make most attorneys green with envy. Rico has worked on cases related to the World Trade Center bombing conspiracy and the 1998 embassy bombings. His bio on the Fordham Law University website shows he's been handling his business, noting that he served as lead defense counsel in up to 45 federal death penalty cases. On top of his courtroom grind, Rico also teaches at Fordham and has been practicing law since way back in 1982. With his deep experience in high-stakes federal cases, Rico was like the secret weapon in Diddy's defense squad. He linked up with the team shortly after Diddy got locked up in September 2024, rolling in alongside another heavyweight attorney, Alexandra Shapiro. Shapiro had previously represented Sam Bankman-Fried, who, funny enough, was Diddy's neighbor in the detention center. These additions made Diddy's already stacked team, led by Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, even more formidable. But then, on February 21st, 2025, just a few months before Diddy was supposed to have his day in court in May, Rico dropped a bombshell and led a motion to bounce from the case. The way he worded it was mad cryptic but straight alarming. Check what he wrote.
For the reasons set forth below, this motion for withdrawals is filed so that Sean Combs may move forward with his defense and to commence jury selection and trial without any delay.
While the exact reason for Rico's exit is still on the low due to attorney-client privilege, the timing of his resignation and the way he worded his statement got everyone's imagination running wild. Some legal heads suggested there might have been beef about defense strategy, while others wondered if some new evidence had popped up that created an ethical no-no for Rico. Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani broke it down in an interview with Law and Crime.
It is significant, and it's tough to know the reason why. It could be any number of possibilities. Sometimes it's when the lawyer hasn't been paid, but we know obviously Diddy doesn't have that problem. He's got plenty of money. It could be a disagreement regarding defense strategy. It could be a conflict. It could be a health issue. It really could be anything, and the paperwork doesn't identify it, nor should it.
What makes this whole situation even more confusing is that Rico seemed to be all in on Diddy's defense right up until he bounced. People who were in the courtroom said Rico would be kicking it with Diddy, passing notes during hearings, and even giving the music mogul hugs. He regularly made sure the judge knew that Diddy's fam had traveled mad far to New York for his hearings, which suggested he was personally invested in the case. When asked about what might have caused Rico to dip, Rahmani ordered several possibilities.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his 1B.
He also threw out another interesting possibility.
And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented them in such a way that he has to get off the case.
Even with Rico ghost, Diddy's legal squad was still deep, with 5 attorneys still holding him down: Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Alexandra Shapiro, Jason A. Driscoll, and Anna Esteval. According to Rico's paperwork, his exit wouldn't delay the case, and the government wasn't tripping about his motion to withdraw. Since Rico had already chopped it up with Mark Agnifilo before laying the motion, everyone expected the judge would probably just sign O on his request to bounce. But the timing of Rico's exit raised mad questions, especially since it came just days after Diddy's defense team tried to get one of the charges against him thrown out. The charge they were trying to beat was transportation to engage in prostitution, which is the third count in his indictment. Diddy's lawyers claim this charge should get tossed because it comes from a racist law, saying no white person has ever caught this kind of heat. The charge falls under the Mann Act, which Congress originally called the White Slave Track Act. This law makes it illegal to transport people across state or international lines for prostitution purposes. Diddy's defense squad argued that the law has a history of racial bias. When asked about whether this strategy might work, Rahmani wasn't feeling it.
Those are very difficult motions to win. So it's essentially a selective prosecution motion. And the example I always like to give is, let's say you're speeding and a police officer pulls you over. It's not a legal defense to say, well, all these other people were speeding, but you didn't pull them over and ticket them. You have to show that the prosecution is for a constitutionally prohibited reason, obviously race being one of them.
As we dig deeper into this case, you gotta wonder, what could have been so serious that it made Anthony Rico, a veteran attorney with decades of experience in high-pro cases, suddenly say, I'm out when it came to representing one of the biggest ballers in the music game? And did it have anything to do with some audio that supposedly got played in court? The mystery of the audio evidence. While everybody was busy speculating about why Anthony Rico suddenly dipped from Diddy's defense team, rumors started spreading like wildre about some connection between his exit and an audio recording supposedly played in court. The most damning audio-visual evidence in the case, that 2016 surveillance video showing Combs laying hands on his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel, wasn't even played in court until May 2025, months after Rico had already dipped. This video, which included audio of Cassie calling security, reportedly had the whole courtroom silent when it nearly got shown during the trial. But this presentation happened long after Rico had already said, peace out. Rico joined Diddy's defense squad in September 2024, shortly after Diddy got locked up on federal charges. For about 5 months, he was grinding alongside other attorneys to prepare for the upcoming trial. During this time, several major developments went down in the case, including pre-trial hearings and talks about evidence. On October 10th, 2024, Judge Arun Subramanian set May 5th, 2025 as the trial date and addressed concerns about leaks by federal agents. Later, on December 18th, 2024, there was a quick hearing where prosecutors discussed evidence disclosure, but nobody mentioned any audio evidence. Then, on February 3rd, 2025, Diddy was supposed to show up in court, but the hearing got pushed back because he reportedly had to go to the hospital. Just a few weeks later, on February 21st, 2025, Rico led his motion to dip. The timing is interesting because it came shortly after Diddy's defense team had led that motion to toss the Mann Act charge, claiming racial bias. Some legal heads wondered if there might have been beef within the defense team about this strategy. Legal expert Joe Tacopina, who turned down the chance to represent Diddy himself, shared his thoughts on the case.
You know, look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very defensible case.
He broke down what he sees as the main issue.
To me, this whole case boils down to an issue of consent, right? And as far as I know, I don't know all the evidence, but it's an issue of consent, right? Did they consent or did they not? I mean, was a gun put to someone's head, or did they want to do it because they were getting all the perks associated with being part of a Diddy party and being one of Diddy's entourage, right? Did he buy him a house or cars and stuff? He didn't have to buy anyone a car or a house.
Tacopina's comments highlight what would become the central strategy of Diddy's defense squad, arguing that everything was consensual and that accusers might be trying to secure the bag. This seems to be the approach that Diddy's remaining attorneys ran with during the trial that started in May 2025. When asked why he passed on the case, Tacopina blamed scheduling conics rather than doubts about Diddy's innocence.
So my turning it down was because I had Rocky's trial coming up. You know, and a host of other things. So it's not about, I don't think he's innocent or I don't like him or anything like that. It's not that at all. It was just timing for me. It really was more about timing than anything.
Interestingly, Tacopina also addressed rumors that his relationship with Jay-Z and Roc Nation influenced his decision not to take the case.
Yeah, but that got taken way out of, I do have a great relationship with Jay and Roc Nation. I represent a lot of them. I think that was, first of all, I know of no personal issue between Jay and Diddy. I have no personal knowledge of that. So someone, I think it was on the Breakfast Club, sort of extrapolated that, but that would have nothing to do with it. No one at Roc Nation ever told me not to represent him. So that I think was misconstrued and I'd probably taken out of context.
While Tacopina's decision not to rep Diddy seems straightforward, the reasons behind Rico's exit remain much more mysterious. What we do know is that before he bounced, Rico had talked with lead counsel Mark Agnifilo, suggesting there was at least some coordination or discussion within the defense team about his departure. Without conrommed info about what made Rico bounce, several theories have popped up. One possibility is that there might have been ethical concerns or disagreements about defense strategy. Another theory suggests that the high-profile nature of the case, combined with all those civil lawsuits and crazy media attention, may have created headaches for the defense team. Some people have speculated that Rico might have reviewed evidence, including potential audio or video, that raised red flags, but this would have happened outside of public court proceedings and remains purely speculation. What about other audio evidence that might have been relevant to the case? There was a rumored audio leak involving Diddy and Meek Mill that surfaced in 2023, but this got debunked as a fake joke and unrelated to the legal proceedings. No legit reports confirm any authentic case-relevant audio being played in court or disclosed to the defense team before February 21st, 2025. What we do know is that Rico's resignation had social media buzzing, with posts on X and Reddit describing it as dramatic and mysterious. Some people thought new evidence or internal beef prompted the move, but no varied reports confirmed these theories. The lack of details only fueled public curiosity, especially given how big this case is. As the case moved toward trial without Rico, Diddy's legal troubles kept piling up. He faced multiple civil lawsuits alleging sexual assault and abuse, which he dismissed as people trying to secure the bag. The trial, expected to last 8-10 weeks, has attracted celebrities, journalists, and rubberneckers, creating a wild courtroom atmosphere at times. By May 2025, when the trial finally kicked off, the defense strategy appeared to argue that Diddy's actions reacted a consensual swinger lifestyle, not criminal behavior, while prosecutors emphasized a pattern of coercion and violence. This aligns with the approach that Tacopina had suggested earlier, focusing on consent as the main issue in the case. As the RST day of testimony went down on May 12, 2025, the prosecution brought out their star witness, a former security guard who had responded to the incident caught on surveillance video in 2016. According to his testimony,
Phillips also testified that he witnessed Combs assault Cassie in their home and that he feared for his own life but eventually befriended Cassie. Now, the person to testify before him was the hotel security guard who responded to the incident caught on surveillance video in that Los Angeles hotel back in 2016 when Diddy was caught on video assaulting Cassie. And he testified that Diddy threw a sack of money at him in their hotel room afterwards to keep quiet.
This testimony, along with the surveillance video, has become central to the prosecution's case, even without Rico in the picture. The video, which leaked in May 2024, shows Diddy putting hands on Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway, an incident that he later publicly apologized for. The judge allowed the video as evidence, saying there was no unfair prejudice to Mr. Combs, despite the defense team trying to block it by claiming CNN had manipulated the footage. As the trial continues to unfold, Anthony Rico's absence from the defense team remains a significant subplot in this high-profile case. Whether his exit was related to audio evidence, ethical concerns, strategic disagreements, or something else entirely, it marks a major moment in the legal proceedings against one of the music industry's biggest ballers. The trial unfolds and implications. As Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial popped off in May 2025, Anthony Rico's absence from the defense squad was just one of many dramatic elements in what's become one of the most high-profile legal beefs in the entertainment world. The trial, going down at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Lower Manhattan, has attracted mad media attention and public interest, with the proceedings expected to run for about 8 weeks. Every development has been analyzed by legal experts and the public alike. The jury selection process, which started on May 5th, 2025, was thorough and complex. Potential jurors had to fill out detailed questionnaires about their knowledge of the case, media exposure, personal experiences with sexual assault or domestic violence, views on law enforcement, opinions on hip-hop artists, and attitudes towards sex, drugs, violence, and multiple sexual partners. This deep vetting was necessary given how famous the case is and the sensitive allegations involved. By May 12, 2025, a jury consisting of 12 main jurors and 6 alternates had been locked in, 12 men and 6 women. The trial could then move forward with opening statements and the RST witnesses. The defense team, now led by Mark Agnello and including attorneys Tenny Giragos, Brian Steele, and others, adopted a strategy focusing on consent as the main issue. As Joe Tacopina had suggested earlier, the defense tried to portray the alleged victims as willing participants who benefited from their association with Diddy. Fox 5 reporter Michelle Ross, covering the trial's RST day, described some of the wild testimony presented.
Well, the latest witness to take the stand today is a man named Daniel Phillips, and he was a male strip show manager. He would manage male strippers who would perform for things like bachelorette parties. But he said that he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura back in 2013 in a New York City hotel while Sean Diddy Combs allegedly sat in the corner, watched, and masturbated.
The testimony continued with increasingly graphic details.
This morning, his family entered the courthouse rather, while leaving a black van. This includes his children, his sons, and also his twin daughters. His family has heard graphic allegations of the alleged sexual encounters, and his daughters walked out during that testimony.
These details align with what prosecutors have called freak-offs, encounters that the prosecution claims involve coercion and exploitation, while the defense maintains they were consensual adult activities. The prosecution's case has heavily relied on the testimony of people like Phillips and Israel Flores, a former security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles who responded to the 2016 incident caught on surveillance video. According to Ross,
Phillips, the second witness of the day, said he was told by his boss that he was going to perform at a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel, but when he arrived, he saw Cassie in red lingerie and a red wig. He testified she said that they would rub baby oil on each other and would see where things would go from there while her husband was there. Combs was allegedly in a corner in a white robe, concealing his face with a bandana.
Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani, commenting on the trial, noted the importance of the video evidence in the prosecution's case.
It's going to be interesting because, again, you have someone who is going to be very sympathetic. She's a pregnant woman. She is a victim, admittedly, at least of physical violence. The defense is going to argue that she was not sexually assaulted. But I think you have to be careful because if you're very aggressive, and obviously you want to do a good job for your client, if you're a defense lawyer, you can really turn off the jurors.
This highlights a major challenge for the defense: how to actively cross-examine witnesses, especially Cassie Ventura, who was pregnant, without making the jury side-eye them. Rahmani broke down this delicate balance.
I think they're going to talk about some of the things that came up in opening statement, right? The jealousy, the fact that she stayed in this relationship for more than a decade. I mean, these are all the questions that the jurors are going to have. That's why the prosecution is going to try to bring in an expert witness that's going to talk about the psychology of an abuse victim, you know, why someone might stay in a relationship, even though they're being physically and sexually abused.
The main question in this trial revolves around force, fraud, or coercion, elements needed to prove sex trafficking. Rahmani explained.
And, you know, everyone's talking about the baby oil, and it came up during Garagos' opening statement. She said there's nothing illegal about, you know, having a lot of baby oil. But baby oil is important to the allegations in the case because you saw Philip come and testify that Combs wanted Cassie covered in baby oil when he was filming them having sex. You know, he would assault her and Philip would become uncomfortable, grab her by the hair.
He continued.
So we're really seeing what the government is saying with respect to the force element. Yeah, the case isn't about baby oil, but it's about Combs's manipulation and forcing Cassie Ventura to have sex under his terms, which included a lot of baby oil, allegedly.
These freak-offs, central to both the prosecution and defense narratives, have been described very directly by each side. The prosecution has presented them as exploitative scenarios where victims were coerced, often under the influence of drugs like ecstasy, cocaine, and GHB. In contrast, the defense has portrayed them as consensual adult activities that, while unconventional, weren't criminal. One notable development in the case was Diddy reportedly turning down a plea deal. On May 1st, 2025, it was reported that Diddy had rejected a plea offer from prosecutors, choosing instead to go to trial. While the details of this offer weren't disclosed, the decision to reject it suggests condensed in the defense's case, or perhaps a refusal to admit to any wrongdoing. Beyond the criminal trial, Diddy is facing a crazy number of civil lawsuits, over 63 at last count, alleging various forms of sexual assault, harassment, and abuse. These lawsuits span decades, with allegations dating back to the 1970s and continuing through 2023. The sheer volume of accusations has created a challenging backdrop for the criminal trial, even though these civil cases are technically separate legal matters. Legal expert Nima Rahmani addressed the growing number of accusers in his commentary.
I do. This is a case that's going to be aggressive. It's going to be about cross-examination, and I think Cassie may take the stand as early as tomorrow, and they're going to be fireworks. I think one important takeaway, too, is we didn't know if victim number 3 would show up or testify. At least in their opening statement, the prosecution talked about a victim 3. So, you know, obviously, if you're trying this case, you want more victims to tell the same story. So if indeed victim 3 shows up, I think that helps the government's case.
The importance of having multiple victims tell similar stories can't be overstated in a case that mostly hinges on credibility. The prosecution's ability to establish a pattern of behavior through multiple witnesses strengthens their argument that Diddy ran a criminal enterprise involving involving the exploitation of women. As for what this trial means, it goes way beyond Diddy himself. The case has been described as a potential reckoning for the music industry, shining a light on long-rumored abusive practices and power dynamic. When asked if this trial represents such a reckoning, supporter of the alleged victims, Jaguar Wright, responded,
"Is this a reckoning for the music industry?"
Oh, it needs to be. And if it wasn't, I hope my presence starts that.
For Diddy personally, the stakes couldn't be higher. If found guilty on all charges, he's looking at a minimum of 15 years in the pen, but potentially a life sentence. The charges against him include racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, each carrying serious time. As the trial has continued, Anthony Rico's absence from the defense team has remained a side note to the larger drama going down in the courtroom. Whatever led to his exit, whether ethical concerns, strategic disagreements, or some undisclosed issue, the defense has kept grinding without him, maintaining the focus on consent as their primary argument. It's worth noting that Rico served as counsel for Diddy for approximately 5 months, from September 2024 to February 21st, 2025. During this time, he would have been involved in early strategic decisions and evidence review, potentially shaping the initial direction of the defense. His departure may have forced adjustments to the defense strategy, though the core argument about consent appears to have stayed consistent. The addition of Brian Steele to the defense team after Rico bounced brought additional experience, particularly given Steele's background representing Young Thug in Georgia's longest criminal trial. The defense team's makeup, even without Rico, includes attorneys with significant experience in high-profile cases. As the trial moves forward, the mystery of what made Anthony Rico suddenly bounce may never be fully solved. The attorney-client privilege that he cited in his motion to withdraw ensures that the specific reasons remain on the low, but the trial itself continues to unfold, with each day bringing new testimony and evidence that will ultimately determine Diddy's fate. Remember when Cat Williams boldly said this?
"Cause P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no."
Well, Monique didn't hold back either when she backed him up.
Everything Cat Williams sat here and said,
Right.
we all know it to be the truth.
But then Monique went even further, hinting that Kim Porter's death might not have been what it seemed. That's when things turned dark, because according to insiders, Diddy didn't just brush it off, he allegedly started making quiet moves to shut her up. In this video, we're breaking down the alleged threats, what insiders are saying, and the chilling accusations Monique has hinted at. The explosive allegation. So check it. Diddy's currently locked up facing some serious charges. We're talking over 63 lawsuits and federal criminal charges that have completely rocked his empire. This man who once sat at the top of the hip-hop world is now fighting for his freedom in a Manhattan courtroom. The feds hit him with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution charges, and his trial just kicked off on May 12th, 2025. But today's story ain't just about Diddy's current legal problems. This is about something potentially even more sinister. Allegations connecting him to the death of his ex, Kim Porter, and how comedian Monique might have found herself caught in the crossfire after speaking some truth. Let's rewind and set the stage. Kim Porter was Diddy's on-again, off-again girlfriend from 1994 to 2007. They had 3 children together, Christian in 1998 and twin daughters Jesse James and Delilah Starr in 2006. Diddy also raised Porter's son Quincy from her previous relationship. Despite their breakup, they remained close co-parents, and by all accounts, Diddy was devastated when Porter suddenly passed away in 2018 at the age of 47. The official cause of death, lobar pneumonia. That's what the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office determined after an autopsy. Case closed, right? Not exactly. Because in recent months, as Diddy's empire has started crumbling under the weight of numerous sexual assault allegations, new questions about Porter's death have begun to surface, and that's where things get really interesting. In a recent interview, Kim Porter's ex, Al B. Sure, made some shocking claims about her death. When asked directly if he believed Porter died of pneumonia, Al B. Sure responded with a firm absolutely not.
Do you believe that she died of pneumonia?
Absolutely not.
Why? What evidence do you have?
She was in the best of health. We just saw each other prior to her passing.
Al B. Sure went on to describe seeing Porter at a Netflix event celebrating their son's Christmas special, where she appeared to be in perfect health. He even mentioned that Diddy was there too, and everything seemed fine between them all. But then Al B. Sure dropped another bombshell. When asked if he believed Diddy or people affiliated with him did something to cause his own multi-organ failure that put him in a coma in 2022, he responded,
I believe this to be the case, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
My first time saying it.
Are you concerned that he still has power outside of incarceration?
Remember, I'm the only one who spoke up, and I'm the only one left alive.
These are some heavy allegations, and they don't stop there. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has also raised questions about Porter's death. In an interview, Deal claimed that Kim Porter's death wasn't properly investigated. He pointed out some suspicious circumstances.
You gotta realize, man, Kim's death wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated. And it should have been a proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death.
One of the most bizarre claims Deal made was about Porter's casket.
Some people even said that her casket was ordered 2 months before she died. I don't believe that, man. I swear. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or none of this. But I heard, did you hear something like that, man? That her casket, how you order a gold casket 2 months before somebody died, man?
Now, it's important to note that official autopsy reports did show that Porter had been suffering from flu-like symptoms for several days before her death. She had a fever of 102 degrees and had been prescribed antibiotic. The report also noted no evidence of foul play and classified her death as natural. And Porter's own children have denounced these conspiracy theories as simply untrue and hurtful, emphasizing the pain such rumors cause their family. This public denial from her children aligns with the official classification of her death as natural. But here's where Monique enters the picture, and where our story takes another wild turn. Monique, a comedian and Oscar-winning actress, has been known for speaking her mind, even when it means going against powerful figures in the entertainment industry. She's had long-standing feuds with Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and others in Hollywood. But recently, she's been turning her attention to Diddy. In April 2024, during a comedy show in Louisville, Kentucky, Monique made some jokes about T.D. Jakes and Tyler Perry, linking them to the ongoing Diddy scandal. This wasn't random. T.D. Jakes was mentioned in a lawsuit filed against Diddy by Rodney Lil Rod Jones in February 2024, with Jones claiming to have irrefutable evidence of Diddy detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Monique has also been very supportive of fellow comedian Cat Williams, who has been outspoken about Diddy for years. In January 2024, during an interview on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Williams predicted that all these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. It don't matter if you're Diddy or whoever. T.D. Jakes, all lies will be exposed. When Monique appeared on the same podcast shortly after, she defended Williams, saying,
Everything Cat Williams sat here and said,
right,
we all know it to be the truth. However, we get so caught up in, well, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right.
Well, can you believe he said it? Or can you?
Or it's the messenger.
It's the messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds tell the truth.
After her Club Shay Shay appearance, Monique announced she would join Williams on his Dark Matter stand-up tour, referring to him as her twin brother. Their alliance has added fuel to the fire, with both comedians being seen as truth-tellers, who aren't afraid to challenge powerful figures in the entertainment industry. In one of her performances on this tour, Monique was captured expressing her admiration for Williams.
And I called him up, and I said, hey, I just got a call to let you know how proud I am of your standing the way you standing. I'm so proud of your goddamn. I don't even know what to tell you. I just want to hug your little.
The close relationship between Monique and Williams, both of whom have been critical of Diddy, raises questions about whether Monique might have received threats for her outspokenness. While there's no direct evidence of Diddy threatening Monique over Kim Porter allegations specifically, the timing of her comments and her association with Williams, who has been warning about Diddy for years, places her in a potentially vulnerable position. The troubled relationship. Let's keep it a buck. Diddy and Kim Porter had a complicated relationship, to say the least. They were together on and off from 1994 to 2007, and while they seemed to have a strong connection and co-parenting relationship behind closed doors, things might have been much darker than the public knew. According to multiple sources, their relationship was marked by Diddy's alleged controlling behavior. In a docuseries called The Fall of Diddy that premiered in January 2025, Daniel Smith, the former editor-in-chief of Vibe magazine, provided a first-hand account of Diddy's treatment of Porter. She claimed that Diddy was awful and very mean to Porter, describing an incident at a nightclub where Diddy allegedly interrupted a girls' night, berated Porter publicly, told her she should be at home, and emptied her purse in front of her friends. Smith's allegations were supported by reports from other media outlets. For example, Hindustan Times published an article in October 2024 citing an insider who worked closely with Diddy and Porter, alleging that Diddy exhibited controlling behavior and that instances of domestic abuse occurred during their 13-year relationship. Similarly, Marca reported in October 2024 that Diddy's relationship with Porter was under renewed scrutiny due to his legal issues, drawing parallels to claims made by Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a 2023 lawsuit. Now, let's be clear, Diddy and his legal team have consistently denied these allegations. In response to Daniel Smith's claims in the fall of Diddy, Diddy's attorneys disputed the allegations, calling them pure fiction. And as of May 13, 2025, no legal findings or convictions related to these specific allegations have been reported. But the controversy doesn't end there. In September 2024, a purported memoir titled Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side was published on Amazon. The 60-page book, allegedly based on Porter's diary entries, detailed claims of physical abuse by Diddy, as well as other allegations about their relationship, including an open relationship and sexual misconduct. However, the memoir's authenticity was widely disputed. Porter's children, Quincy, Christian, Jesse, and Delilah, issued a joint statement on Instagram on September 25, 2024, denouncing the book as simply untrue. They stated that their mother did not write the memoir, and that anyone claiming to have a manuscript was misrepresenting themselves. The memoir was pulled from Amazon on October 2, 2024, after a dispute regarding its authenticity, with an Amazon spokesperson confirming that the book was no longer available for sale. Diddy's attorney, Erica Wolf, described the memoir as fake and offensive, accusing it of being a shameless attempt to profit from tragedy. Despite the lack of credibility, the memoir's brief availability and its allegations contributed to public discourse about Diddy's relationship with Porter. And this is where things start to get even more interesting. Remember Al B. Sure, the R&B singer and Kim Porter's ex. He's been raising questions about Porter's death for years, suggesting that there was more to the story than what was officially reported. In his recent interview, he mentioned that Porter had warned him about Diddy.
And thank goodness to my ex, the wonderful Kim Porter, the late Kim Porter, who, kind of warned me all along the way to, just kind of watch your back, so on and so forth. And I didn't understand why.
Because of Diddy.
Basically.
Al B. Sure isn't the only one raising suspicions. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has pointed out several concerning aspects of Porter's death that he believes warrant further investigation.
How is it that you know how we are as a people? I don't believe that 10% of your viewers that's watching this don't keep their phone when they go to sleep in arm reach. How is it that there was no electronic products or gadgets around Kim's bed? Her laptop missing, her cell phone's missing. Everything is missing that she could get in touch with her little girls if they not at home or some friends or family. All that's missing.
Deal also questioned why the detectives didn't personally examine Porter's body.
How is it that, and this is hearsay, that the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at? That the coroner had already removed her, pronounced her dead, and told the detectives that it was no foul play. And if that is true, as I've heard it, and we read certain things on the internet about it, that case needs to be reopened.
Another strange detail Deal mentioned was that Porter received a massage shortly before her death, despite reportedly having pneumonia.
We know that Kim, and it's in the this is in the documentation. Shout out to Paperwork. At the Paperwork part, I gotta shout him out, man, because he looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia? And do we know whether she used that baby oil or not for that massage? It makes you say, That's a big one, man.
Now, it's important to note that the autopsy report does confirm that Porter received a massage on November 14th, 2018, the day before her death. The report also documented her declining health, noting that she had been experiencing flu-like symptoms for about 4 days, including a fever of 102 degrees. Medical tests for flu and strep throat were negative, and she had been prescribed antibiotics and received IV fluids with vitamin. But what makes all of this even more intriguing is how it connects to Diddy's current legal troubles. Diddy was arrested on September 16, 2024, on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. He's currently detained at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center awaiting trial, which began on May 12, 2025. These charges have amplified public and media scrutiny of his past relationships, including with Porter. The 2023 lawsuit filed by Cassie Ventura, which alleged sexual abuse and other misconduct, prompted speculation about whether similar behavior occurred in Diddy's relationship with Porter. While the Ventura case was settled out of court, it fueled public interest in Porter's experiences. And this brings us back to Monique. Why would Diddy potentially feel threatened by Monique speaking out about Kim Porter? Well, Monique has a reputation for being outspoken and unafraid to challenge powerful figures in the entertainment industry. Her support of Cat Williams, who has been predicting Diddy's downfall for years, puts her in a position to amplify these allegations and bring them to a wider audience. But there's more to the story than just Monique's outspokenness. There's an interesting connection between Monique and another figure in this saga, Monique Bunn, a hip-hop photographer who had her own troubled history with Diddy. According to Rolling Stone, Monique Bunn was a photographer close to Notorious Big and other bad boy artists. She sued Diddy in 2000 for withholding a set of Biggie photos, which she won. Following this, Bunn claimed her professional opportunities diminished, alleging Diddy called the Fader magazine to pull advertising if they worked with her, suggesting a form of blackballing. While Monique and Monique Bunn are different people, the similarity in their names and their both having conflicts with Diddy creates an interesting parallel. Could Monique's support of Cat Williams and her jokes about T.D. Jakes, who was mentioned in a lawsuit against Diddy, have put her on Diddy's radar? There's another angle to consider here. Monique has been very vocal about being blackballed in Hollywood after her Oscar win for Precious in 2009. She's blamed Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels for limiting her career opportunities. In February 2024, during her appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Monique claimed to possess a recording of Perry confessing to starting rumors she was difficult to work with. This experience of being allegedly blackballed and silenced by powerful industry figures might make Monique particularly sensitive to similar patterns of behavior in Diddy's orbit. And given her platform and willingness to speak truth to power, she could be seen as a potential threat to Diddy's already fragile public image. But here's where things get really interesting. While there hasn't been any direct evidence of Diddy threatening Monique specifically over Kim Porter allegations, there are reports of Diddy attempting to influence witnesses and control the narrative from behind bars. According to court filings from November 2024, federal prosecutors have accused Diddy of breaking Metropolitan Detention Center regulations by using other inmates' telephone accounts to make calls, allegedly to evade monitoring and contact individuals not on his approved contact list. These calls included three-way arrangements to reach associates considered part of his alleged criminal enterprise, potentially to influence witnesses or victims who could provide testimony against him. Prosecutors further allege that Diddy orchestrated social media strategies from jail to sway public opinion and the potential jury pool. These actions are described as relentless efforts to obstruct justice, with prosecutors noting Diddy's uncanny ability to get employees, family members, and inmates to do his bidding. If Diddy is willing to go to such lengths to control the narrative from behind bars, it's not a stretch to imagine that he might view Monique's outspokenness as a threat, especially if she continues to support figures like Cat Williams, who have been calling him out for years. The power struggle. First things first, let's talk about power. In the entertainment industry, power isn't just about money or fame, it's about influence, connections, and the ability to make or break careers. And for decades, Sean Diddy Combs has been one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop and beyond. But power can be used and abused. And if the allegations against Diddy are true, he's been abusing his power for a very long time. The over 63 civil lawsuits and federal criminal charges that Diddy is currently facing paint a picture of a man who allegedly used his position to exploit, manipulate, and silence others. One of the most disturbing aspects of these lawsuits is that many of them involve allegations of drugging and sexual assault at events like Diddy's white parties in the Hamptons. Some accusers allege they were filmed without consent and threatened into silence. For instance, a lawsuit filed on October 14, 2024, claimed a 16-year-old was assaulted in 1998. But what does all this have to do with Monique? Well, to understand that, we need to look at Monique's own history of challenging powerful figures in the entertainment industry. After After winning an Oscar for her role in Precious in 2009, Monique claimed she was blackballed from Hollywood because she refused to participate in unpaid promotional activities for the film, particularly at the Cannes Film Festival. In a 2023 interview with Vanity Fair, she explained, "I'm doing a talk show. I'm doing a comedy tour. I have a husband and I have babies. I have a little bit of downtime and I'm going to take advantage of it, so I'm not going anywhere because I'm not obligated to go anywhere. I've done my part." This refusal led to tensions with the film's producers, Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, who allegedly labeled her difficult to work with. Monique has been very vocal about this experience, claiming it significantly limited her career opportunities. In 2018, Monique released a secretly recorded conversation with Tyler Perry, in which Perry admitted that the difficult to work with label was unfair, and that Monique should have been paid for overseas promotion of Precious. The transcript includes Perry stating, "This is Tyler Perry talking. I'm gonna call and find out what money is coming in from Precious, and I'm going to send that to you." Though Monique claims this payment never materialized, Monique's willingness to expose powerful figures in the entertainment industry, even at the cost of her own career opportunities, makes her a potential threat to someone like Diddy, who has allegedly gone to great lengths to silence those who might speak out against him. But the connection goes deeper than just Monique's reputation for speaking truth to power. Her association with Cat Williams puts her squarely in opposition to Diddy. Williams has been predicting Diddy's downfall for years and has made numerous comments about him. In a stand-up performance following Diddy's arrest in September 2024, Williams addressed the federal raids on Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes, where authorities seized 10,000 bottles of baby oil. Williams humorously noted that Diddy's lawyer claimed the baby oil was purchased in bulk from Costco, but he countered that Costco does not sell baby oil. He further suggested that the baby oil was used in Diddy's so-called freak-off parties, implying that drugs were involved. During a January 2024 interview on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Williams made a prophetic statement about the entertainment industry. "All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. It don't matter if you're Diddy or whoever, TD Jakes, all lies will be exposed." This comment, made before Diddy's legal issues became public, was later highlighted as a warning by fans and media outlets after federal raids on Diddy's homes in March 2024. In the same interview, Williams claimed to have turned down $50 million 4 times, stating, "P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you've got to tell him no, I did." This remark suggested that Diddy's parties involved activities that Williams found morally or ethically compromising. Following Diddy's arrest on September 17, 2024, Williams posted on his Instagram story sharing an AI-generated clip that superimposed Diddy's face onto a scene from the 1991 film New Jack City, where the character Nino Brown identifies his associates in court. Williams captioned the clip, "Diddy about to snitch on everybody." Monique's support of Williams and her decision to join his comedy tour sends a clear message that she stands with someone who has been calling out Diddy for years. When she appeared on the Club Shay Shay podcast in February 2024, Monique defended Williams, saying,
"It's the messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds tell the truth."
This statement is telling. Monique is aligning herself with Williams as a truth teller, someone who isn't afraid to speak up against powerful figures in the entertainment industry. And in doing so, she's potentially putting herself in the line of fire. But even more concerning is the fact that Monique's jokes have explicitly connected TD Jakes to Diddy. Remember, TD Jakes was mentioned in a lawsuit filed against Diddy by Rodney Lil Rod Jones in February 2024. The lawsuit accused Diddy and associates of participating in a sex trafficking venture and included allegations of sexual harassment and assault. While Jakes is not a defendant in the lawsuit, the mention of his name in connection with Diddy has raised eyebrows. During a performance on April 12, 2024 in Louisville, Kentucky, Monique made explicit jokes about Jakes' December 2023 sermon. In the sermon, Jake spoke about coming out of the closet, quit keeping a secret, and let the world know if it had not been for the Lord that was on my side, I would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Monique interpreted this out of context, responding with sexually explicit jokes that connected Jakes to the Diddy scandal. Given Diddy's alleged history of trying to control the narrative and silence those who speak out against him, it's not hard to imagine that Monique's jokes and her association with Williams might have put her on his radar. And here's where things get even more concerning. As we mentioned earlier, federal prosecutors have accused Diddy of using other inmates' telephone accounts to make unauthorized calls from jail, allegedly to evade monitoring and contact individuals not on his approved contact list. These calls included three-way arrangements to reach associates associates considered part of his alleged criminal enterprise, potentially to influence witnesses or victims who could provide testimony against him. If these allegations are true, it suggests that even from behind bars, Diddy is attempting to maintain his power and influence, and that raises serious questions about the safety of those who speak out against him, including figures like Monique. Now, let's be clear, while there are reasons to believe that Monique might be at risk of threats from Diddy or his associates due to her outspokenness and her connection to Williams, we don't have direct evidence of specific threats being made. This part of the story is still unfolding, and we'll need to wait for more information to emerge. But what we do know is that Monique has been fearless in her criticism of powerful figures in the entertainment industry, even when it has cost her career opportunities. And Cat Williams, her ally in this battle, has been even more explicit in his criticism of Diddy. It's also worth noting that Al B. Sure, who has been raising questions about Kim Porter's death for years, mentioned in his recent interview that he has increased his security due to concerns about his safety.
You heard about Al B. Sure increasing his security?
You know, I spoke to Al a couple of times, and he texted me a couple of times too. I think knowing the history of them two, if he did increase his security, he have every right to. And I believe that Al knows that Puff has some powerful people, or has some powerful people around him, and some people doing some things for him that could danger his life.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, expressed support for Al B. Sure.
I don't think nobody would be paying for some security if they didn't think their life was in danger. So I could see Al doing that. I understand why Al is doing that.
If Al B. Sure feels the need to increase his security due to his comments about Diddy and Kim Porter, it's reasonable to wonder if Monique might face similar risks due to her outspokenness. But let's zoom out for a moment and consider what this whole situation reveals about power dynamics in the entertainment industry. Monique has been fighting against what she sees as unfair treatment by powerful figures for years. In her view, the industry often silences and marginalizes voices like hers, especially when they speak uncomfortable truths. During her appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Monique made a powerful statement about the importance of speaking truth to power.
If it's your story and it's the truth, tell it. Because what you can do is be in a position to prevent it happening to someone else over and over and over again. So if I go back to the 11th grade with that sister who's no longer with us, rest her with that sister, I would do that again.
This philosophy that speaking the truth can prevent harm to others is central to understanding why Monique might be willing to risk potential threats from someone like Diddy. In her view, remaining silent in the face of wrongdoing only enables further harm. Monique has also been critical of what she sees as a culture of fear and silence in the Black entertainment community. During her Club Shay Shay interview, she said,
"That's why we're in the position we are now as a community, as a Black community, as a community in entertainment. Everybody's been so afraid to say, look what they did to me. Look what they said." And it's like, oh, well, listen now, we don't want to ruffle no feathers, especially if the messenger doesn't fit what people should think the messenger is supposed to look like.
This culture of fear and silence is what allows powerful figures like Diddy to allegedly abuse their position for so long without consequences. The over 63 lawsuits against Diddy, many of which involve allegations of sexual assault and abuse, that suggests a pattern of behavior that was enabled, at least in part, by a system that protected the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. And that's where Monique's story intersects with the larger Diddy scandal. Both involve allegations of powerful figures using their influence to silence and control others. Both involve challenges to a system that often values power and connections over truth and accountability. Now, as Diddy's trial unfolds, the truth about his alleged crimes may finally come to light. The federal trial, which began on May 12, 2025, focuses on charges that could lead to life imprisonment if convicted. The jury selection has been completed, and opening statements have already highlighted the prosecution's claim of Diddy as a predator using fame and violence, countered by the defense describing his lifestyle as consensual. swinger behavior. Witnesses, including a Los Angeles police officer and a male review manager, have testified about incidents like the 2016 assault on Cassie Ventura, with more expected in the coming weeks. As the trial progresses, we may learn more about the full extent of Diddy's alleged crimes and whether figures like Monique have reason to fear potential threats. But regardless of the outcome of the trial, the larger issues it raises about power, silence, and accountability in the entertainment industry will remain. Monique's willingness to speak out despite the potential risks highlights the importance of challenging a system that too often protects the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. In an interview with Teyana Taylor on Bumble's Love to See a Virtual Reality show, Diddy spoke about losing Kim Porter and the impact it had on him.
It's the only way you kind of know how important it is. So all the heartache that anybody's ever been through, all of the loss that people have gone through, that's the thing that really makes you appreciate the times that you actually felt that and actually received that love. When you lose that unconditional love, that's the one that has you respect. Put some respect on love's name.
There's a certain irony in these words, given the allegations that have surfaced about Diddy's treatment of Porter during their relationship. If the allegations are true, it suggests a man who didn't fully appreciate what he had until it was gone, and who may have contributed to the heartache and loss he speaks of. And that brings us back to Monique. In standing up against powerful figures like Diddy, she's fighting for a world where love and respect aren't just words to be used in interviews, but principles to be lived by, even by those with power and influence. So is Monique at risk of threats from Diddy over her comments about him and her support of Cat Williams? Based on the evidence we have, it's certainly possible. But what's clear is that Monique is unlikely to be silenced regardless of the risks. As she said during her Club Shay Shay interview,
so when you get to a space where you say, listen, I want to be free. I want to be free. I don't want to walk around intimidated, scared, fearful. What might happen? What they gonna say? What they gonna do? If it's your story and it's the truth, tell it.
This is a philosophy that challenges the very power dynamics that have allegedly allowed figures like Diddy to operate with impunity for so long. And in that sense, whether or not there are specific threats against Monique, her very existence as an outspoken, truth-telling voice represents a threat to a system that relies on silence and fear to maintain its power structures. As Diddy's trial continues and more information comes to light, we'll be watching closely to see how this story unfolds. But one thing is clear: the days of powerful figures operating with impunity in the entertainment industry may be coming to an end, thanks in part to brave voices like Monique and Cat Williams who refuse to be silenced. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.